If I okay. Inshallah, this is good. Okay, so now what's the URL? This is the URL. This one here?
Mm-hmm. I think you can do share.
Did I do share?
Mm-hmm. No potential. Not now.
Okay, not now.
Yeah, it's okay. You have freedom of speech. I don't think there's chair. Then I think you need just to copy the link and just do that.
Okay, I thought it was going to be so complicated. I had never tried it before.
It should not be complicated.
Okay, yeah. You can just position it as you like.
Wait, is it start? Did it start?
Yeah.
Already?
It started.
Oh, okay.
It's
So all of
streaming
this is
already.
recorded right now. This is behind the scene footage.
Okay, we'll cut it out.
No, that's fine. I was joking. Okay, I'll show it. Okay, be careful. Let me test it. Is it working? شغال؟ بسم الله واحد اثنين. Is it working? Okay, good. Is it loud? It's working. Okay, just it's two microphones. Okay, it's good. Okay. Can everybody hear me in the masjid? Okay. Okay, shall we start, inshallah? Not yet? Okay, just a sec. Okay, ready? Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وتقا وهدى يا أرحم الراحمين. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وإن خير الهدي هدي نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. So I forgot to mention before the beginning of the lecture, inshallah, sit as much as you are comfortable, inshallah. For the women, inshallah, for the sisters, if they can see the slides, they can open the door, or if they would like to come out, that's fine, as long as they're comfortable. If they would like to stay in the musalla, that's also fine, as long as they're comfortable, inshallah. Right? But just for them so they can see the slides. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, last time we talked about the story of Shu'aib, right? And we talked about different other stories, the story of Yunus and the story of the Prophet Hanbala, right? Hanzala ibn Safwan. And we talked about those strange incidents that occurred within their lifetimes. Now, Shu'aib, as we said, he is the father-in-law of Musa alayhi salam. Musa is going to be the topic of today. But also today is the third part of the sub-series of the history of the Israelites. Now, this part and the following part is going to be a very critical point in the history of the Israelites. It's going to be very important. It's going to give them the identity and definition. But first, before we start talking about Musa alayhi salam, let's start talking about the era in which Musa was living in. It's very important to know how everything was working before Musa alayhi salam became a prophet, how everything around him was going. You know, the political environment, the social environment, the economic environment, etc. So during that time, which I presume was around 1000 and 1500 BC, I think, it was during the era of the new kingdom of Egypt, or the empire of Egypt, as historians like to say. And the ruling dynasty was the 19th ruling dynasty of Egypt. The 19th ruling dynasty of Egypt, of the Neo Kingdom. And I believe it started with Ahmose the First. And this kingdom was very glorious during that time. It was the most strongest empire on earth, the world power basically. And all other kingdoms feared it. And they had a rival empire in the north, in modern day Turkey. They were known as the Hittiyin in Arabic, or the Hittites in English. These people were Indo-European. They were not Semites, or what do you call them? They're not Turks, of course. They're not Greek. They are an Indo-European race, but they're not Greek or Semites or Turks. And the Egyptians, the ones that were ruling back then, they were the Copts, not Semites either, right? Because for a long time, Egypt has been ruled by Semites. They were ruled by the Hyksos specifically, and the Amorites, in which Hajar alayhi salam belonged to. Okay, but these people who were ruling the 19th dynasty, they were Copts. They were actual Egyptians who descend from Misraim, as we saw in the Tree of Nations. Misraim, who is a descendant of, what was his name? Ham ibn Nuh. During all of this, there was the king Seti the First, a king of the Egyptian Empire. Now, this man was very glorious. People really loved him. And they also loved his family to death. They would sacrifice themselves for him and his family, literally. And they loved his child. His child, his name is Ramses II, Ramses Athan, right? And Seti, he would grab his child, and then he would tell all the servants to put on the crown for him and to make him wear the best of his clothes. And he asked the palace to gather all the most beautiful women for him so he can marry them. So he had, Ramses II had all glory and had wealth, all everything that, you know, a teenager would enjoy at this age. And Ramses was raised with arrogance, right? He liked himself a lot. He liked his ego. He enjoyed it. He thought of himself as something big. But the religion of Egypt back then still forced him to believe in different gods and follow different gods. Yes, he thinks himself, he's an absolute being. He has a lot of ego, all right? He maybe thinks of himself as a god, but he still needed to worship other gods, all right? What is the Egyptian mythology? The Egyptian mythology is really important for us to know, especially in the series of the Israelites. And it's going to really come in handy in the part where we talk about Isa alayhi salam. So let's skip all the parts in which it is really similar to all other mythologies, in Greek or in Persian or in Arab mythology or in Sumerian, in which you had a void or chaos. They believed it was a god, and then this void, from it they had a children. His name is something related to heavens, right? And heavens then separated, and now they have heavens and earth. And they believe these things are gods. They don't believe like heavens is a structure and earth is a structure. No, they believe that heaven, there's a god, and on earth there's a god. Like in the Greek, they believe Uranus is the god of heavens, and they believe Gaia is the god of earth. They literally believe that they were one entity, born from chaos or chaos. Chaos is a god in Greek mythology, and born from that, and then they separated, and then they get married, and then we had the sun and the moon and all of these other entity, or all of these other gods. Now, in the Egyptian mythology, we have the same introduction. But then what happened? We had the god of the sun, Ra, and this god created a king from their perspective. Now this king, his name is Osiris, all right, or Osiris. And this man, he was married to a lady. Her name is Isis. So Osiris and Isis. And Osiris had a brother. His name is Set. Okay, so Osiris was the ruler of Egypt. He was the king of Egypt, of both Egypt. So sometimes we notice in the crowns of the Egyptians, in the pharaohs, we notice their crown is composed of two parts, right? These two parts resemble that they rule over the united Egypt, both Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, in which it is if you look at the map, just like a real quick. So if you can see the cursor, okay. So this part, they would call Upper Egypt, which is north of the Nile, which is near the Delta. And this part, which is more towards Africa, more towards the inland, and away from the Delta, away from the Mediterranean Ocean, or the Mediterranean Sea, this land they would call Lower Egypt, okay? And they united it in history, and thus they have a crown that resembles both of these. So Osiris, or Osiris, he ruled over both of these lands of Egypt. But Set, he was very jealous of his brother, right? He wanted to also rule all of Egypt, and he wanted the same glory and the same, things that his brother is getting, right? People love him, people chant for him, and all of this. So he wanted the same thing. So Set wanted to kill Osiris. This is all in the Egyptian mythology. So finally, Set, he makes a plan. He kills Osiris. And then when he kills Osiris, what happens? He doesn't want him to come back. So he cuts him into different pieces. He cuts his head, he cuts his arms, he cuts his legs, all of this. And then he puts each piece of his body into a tomb. And he buries all of these tombs all around Egypt. He buries a part underneath the Nile River, a part underneath the sand in the deserts of Egypt, a part in the Red Sea, etc. All right. So Isis now is really sad that her husband died, so she wants him to come back. So now she starts the search for her husband's parts. Now, Set is now the new king of Egypt. And Set is a tyrant. People don't like him. He's ruling with an iron fist. So now it's up to Isis to return her husband. So now they can have, prosperity again. So finally she returns her husband. And then still he's dead. She gets pregnant and she has Horus, a child, even though her husband is dead. So you can see how these mythologies does not work, right? It's illogical. But either way, she gets pregnant from the corpse of her dead husband, and she gets Horus. Do we know this eye that they always show us, that the eye of Egypt? This eye is the eye of Horus, all right? Because they really, really love this god, and they thought that this eye meant protection to Egypt. The eye of Horus that overlooks Egypt and protects Egypt and protects the people of Egypt, right? This man, he became the savior of humankind from his virgin mother, Isis, and his father, now the god of the dead, Osiris. And they worshipped the three of them as one entity. And now Horus fights with Set, and he wounds Set in his right eye, making him A'war, right? He now has only one eye, he can't see with the other one. This story is very similar to a very familiar story that we know. And inshallah, we're going to encounter in the future. This Egyptian mythology, put it in your mind, it's really going to come in handy, inshallah, in the future. Right? Because this story is something that the future Israelites, the ones who would not follow Musa no more, they would use this story for something. But all of this, they believed in it. The Egyptians, all of this, these mythologies, they believed in it. They believed Horus is God, Isis is God, Osiris is God, Ra is God, etc. And then gods started apparently to, I think, have divisions, right? So we have different gods now. We have Amun, Amun, Atkon, different type of gods. All right. So either ways, Ramses, he's not content with this. All right. He doesn't think this is right. And just a couple of years ago, we talked about how Yusuf alayhi salam came to the land of Egypt. All right. And then all of Egypt became Muslims. They believed in one God. And we said that the Pharaoh who was ruling back then, most likely he is Akhenaton, because Akhenaton, he was in history the Pharaoh who united all of the gods into just one God. He believed in only one God. All right. Now we're going to talk about how today, inshallah, how the scripts may not be accurate. But either ways, this was the environment that surrounded Musa alayhi salam before his birth. Ramses, or Ramses, he's a very important figure in all of this, especially for today. Now this man at the age of 14, some say 16, his father, Seti, he died. Okay? Which means now he's going to be the king, boy king, right? At a young age. He's going to rule all of Egypt, all right? For 70 days, he's going to be busy with burying his father. You know, Egyptians, they have their own, ancient Egyptians have their own methods with burying, you know, mummifying, all of that. So during this period of time, people in the palace, they wanted to, you know, use this boy king, right? He's just 14. He's not going to do nothing, right? So now they can become the real rulers of Egypt and use him just as a figure, you know, to rule Egypt behind his back. Now, Ramses was smart from a young age. And at the age of 14, he was able to slaughter all of his opponents in the palace. He even killed people from his own family in order to have all of Egypt for himself. So he ruled Egypt with an iron fist at the age of 14. At the age of 14, he was able to do this. And he did not let anybody rule over him or use him as a puppy for that person to rule Egypt. And not just this. The 19th dynasty's dream was to eliminate the Hittites. They wanted to get rid of the Hittites, the Hittiyin. And they wanted to take over Syria and Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, the Levant, Asham, Bilad Asham, and they wanted to take over Turkey and rule all of this land, right? And they wanted to unite all of these kingdoms into one kingdom. This boy's story is really similar to a story of another king who came before him, isn't it? When we talked about An-Namrud, they have the same background, the same story, a person who's ignorant, he's from a very strong ruling dynasty. Ramses, he grew up All of his men feared him. Everybody feared him. He was a true tyrant. So then he wanted to get rid of those Hethis, right? The Hethian. So he made a very glorious battle. Till this day in history, it's one of the greatest battles. You'll see why. This battle is known as Ma'rakat Qadish, the Battle of Qadish. Qadish is a town today near, I think, the province of Hama in Syria, modern day Syria. It's close to the river Asi, Nahr al-Asi. And there in Aleppo, just north of that, stationed the king of the Hethians. All right. So this king, he was trying to play with the nerves of Ramses, the pharaoh, and he was always trying to tease him, right? Like, you're weak, you're not going to be able to destroy me. I have a strong army. So Ramses is like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to show you my true strength. I'm going to show you who is the 14 years old king who was able to control all of Egypt and eliminate all of his opponents. So he grabbed a huge army and he divided it into 4 groups. Each group he named it after a god in order to reflect to the Egyptians that this battle now it is blessed by the gods. So whoever goes against it, he's going against the gods of Egypt. Right? So he's using propaganda to brainwash his people. Now he's progressing towards Syria. He's coming near Aleppo. He finds 2 men from the Hethis, and then he takes them as prisoners, and then he asks them, "Where's your king?" So they say, "Our king is scared of you, you great king. You're the great king of the kings of all of the earth. Everybody's scared from you. He's now in Aleppo in his palace shaking." So the pharaoh, said, of course, right? Like, he's now full of arrogance. He thinks, yes, now he's going to win this battle. As he gets close to Qadish, the town of Qadish, he is surprised that those 2 prisoners, they were actually spies, intentionally sent to him, so they can trick him thinking that the enemy is scared of him. But in fact, the enemy was waiting for him. So he was surprised. And he was really arrogant that he went with only 1 group of the 4 groups of his army. And he left the 3 others behind. So he was not strategically smart with this. So they surrounded him in the battle. All right. So all of his men fled. The whole army fled. Everybody thought, we have no chance. We're surrounded. All right. They're going to kill us. So it's either our lives or we die. All right. Either we save our lives or we just going to die in the battle. For what? For nothing. For just an arrogant king. But this man, he was really brave. What he did, he grabbed his swords and he rushed at the enemy. Alone, he took thousands of men. Alone. He had the brave and strength to do that. The king of the Hethis, all right, he was really surprised and shook when he saw this. How can one man do this? How much brave he is. And he won the battle. When his army saw this, they became really encouraged and they joined the battle and they won the battle. A very decisive victory in history. One of the greatest battles in history, all right, most glorious ones. And he won against the Hethis and he destroyed their empire. And Syria and Turkey was next to the empire of Egypt. Ramses II is known in the history of Egypt or ancient Egypt as the greatest pharaoh of all time. Now all of this glory, this victory in this battle, it was all given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can see the same pattern with Namrud. Namrud was given the same glory and he ruled all over the known world back then. Now Ramses, the same thing is going on with him. He's becoming the king of all the known world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving him a lot of strength, right? Because all of this is going to be used as an evidence against him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something, that does not mean, you should just discard Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all of his teachings. No, you got to think about why is he giving you all of this. This is an evidence that you're able to worship him and able to follow his path and the path he set to you. Because Ramses, he owns a lot of things. He's the most strongest man in the world, right? The strongest man in the world. So he has no excuses not to follow the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that was the story of the Pharaoh of Egypt and the environment of Egypt. What about the Israelites? What has come of them? All right. So we talked about how Yusuf alayhi salam, he became the first vizier of Egypt. Basically, like today saying he's the prime minister of Egypt, right? So he's just the second man after the Pharaoh. And because of this, he was able to get all of the Israelites, all of his 12 brothers, into Egypt, and his father and his family. His 12 brothers lived in Egypt, and him, and they had children, and they had descendants. So they became tribes, the 12 tribes of Israel. Why are they called that? Because Yaqub alayhi salam, his other name was Israel. We talked about it in the previous lecture. So they lived in Egypt, and then the 19th dynasty took over after the 18th dynasty. And the Israelites were great allies of the 18th dynasty. So they gave them a land east of the Delta Nile. And this land is known as Jassan, right? And they lived there, and who remained from the 18th dynasty, they lived there with them. But the 19th dynasty, Ramses, he really disliked these guys. He thought of them as traitors, right? Because they fought against the dynasty of his family. So he enslaved the Israelites. He put them into slavery. And he used them to construct his new capital of Egypt, known as Per-Ramses. Per-Ramses. The capital was Thebes, Taiba. I believe it is today Luxor. And then it was moved northwards into the city of Memphis. In Arabic, I think it's known as Menaf. And then he constructed his capital, Per-Ramses. And he did not treat him right. He murdered their children. He raped their women. He stole their money. He did not treat them right. They were oppressed. So what's the next thing to happen is that the Israelites, they have been passed since Ibrahim, that a descendant of Ibrahim, he's going to come in Egypt. He's going to be born in Egypt, and there's going to be a tyrant king, and he is the one to take down this tyrant. Now, the ruling dynasty of Egypt and the ruling elite of Egypt, the princes and all the people who are close to the king of Egypt, all of them knew about this, all right? And they started thinking about this. Some of them thought, well, it's Yusuf, right? He's an Israelite, he came to Egypt, he did all of this, that's it. But the criteria was, this Israelite, he's going to be born in Egypt. Yusuf was not born in Egypt, he was born in Palestine. So, one night, Ramses was sleeping, and he witnessed a dream in which flame came over from Al-Quds and took down and tore down his throne, burnt down his throne, killing him. He woke up very scared, and he grabbed all of the people who were, of knowledge of how to interpret dreams, and they told him, there is a boy from the Israelites, he's going to be born in the next 10 years, and this man is going to be the reason you're going to be dethroned. He's going to kill you. He's not going to kill you, he's going to be the reason you're going to be killed. All right? So now the Pharaoh, he is very anxious, right? He's very annoyed, all right? So he orders each year all of the children of the Israelites to be killed. Any child who's going to be born, kill him for the next 10 years. They kept doing that for the next 10 years, but then the Copts, the people of Egypt, they approached the Pharaoh, Ramses, and they said, well, if we keep doing that, the elders are going to die. They're not going to have new males. We're going to only live with the female. We can't enslave the female, all right? So there is nobody to enslave. Thus, we're going to be the slaves. Right, we're going to do the work we're letting them do. So the Pharaoh said, okay, well, instead of doing, killing all of the children each year, we're going to leave a year in which we don't kill the children, and the next year we kill a child. We kill the children of Banu Israel. So Harun alayhi salam, the elder brother of Musa, was born in a year in which children were spared. They were not killed. Musa was born in a year in which the children were killed. So the mother of Musa, she was really scared for her child. The mother of Musa, her name is Yukabid. His father is named Imran. All right? Inshallah, we're going to look at the tree after we're done. And they had Harun and Maryam, the sister of Musa. The sister of Musa, which her name is Maryam, is not Maryam, the sister of Isa. Sorry, the mother of Isa. I'm sorry. So the Maryam, the mother of Isa, she's not the sister of Musa. They're not the same person, right? It's just similar names. And especially that there is, I believe there was a huge amount of years between them, around 1,000 years. So it's not even logical. I mean, yes, we had people who lived for 1,000 years, but that was during the time of Adam. By the time of Ibrahim, the humans started to live between 100 and 200 years at a max, right? And even till this day, people who are living until 100 years of age, they're getting rare, right? So it's illogical at that time for somebody to live for 1,000 years. So anyways, they're not the same person. So Musa alayhi salam was born that year to his mother, Yukabid, the daughter of Lawi. And Musa, his name is Musa ibn Imran, ibn Ghiath, ibn Azir, ibn Lawi, ibn Yaqub, ibn Ishaq, ibn Ibrahim. All right? So he is from the tribe of Levi, Lawi, one of the 12 tribes of the Israelites. He's from the tribe of Lawi. Okay? So what happened with Musa when he was born? His mother was really terrified that the soldiers would know him and kill him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to protect Musa. So when she got pregnant with him, you know, when a woman gets pregnant, there are signs. Their signs were not obvious. Only herself, she was only the person who was able to know she was pregnant. But people, when they would look at her, they would not know she was pregnant. So that's the first step into protecting Musa alayhi salam. Okay? Now the second step. She's not going to be able to hold him for long. So as he grows up, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to her, أوحى الله سبحانه وتعالى إليها إلى أم موسى أن اقذفيه في اليم. So what would she do? She constructed a tomb, right? A small tomb made of wood. And she would go alongside the River Nile. And when she is walking with him, as she's walking, she would breastfeed him. Okay? And when the soldiers of the Pharaoh of Egypt, they would look at her and, you know, kind of pay attention that there's a child they need to kill, she would put him into the tomb and throw him into the Nile. And she would have a rope in which she can follow the path of the tomb, so she does not lose him in the Nile. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to protect him even further. He wants to make this kind of ironic situation and put a test for Ramses, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Ramses. Is he going to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all what he gave him? Or is he going to become jahid? Is he going to go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He's going to be ungrateful. So what happened is that the rope that connected the tomb with the mother got cut. Now she lost the tomb in the Nile. And the tomb stopped in front of the palace of Fir'aun. The palace of the person who ordered to kill him. SubhanAllah. Okay? Who would catch him are the servants of the wife of Fir'aun. The wife of Fir'aun, her name is Asya bint Muzahim ibn Ubayd ibn al-Rayyan ibn al-Walid. Who is al-Rayyan ibn al-Walid? That is the name of Akhenaton, the ruler during the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. So she is a descendant of the ruler during the time of Yusuf who became Muslim. So she has good roots. She was raised with a family with the tradition of Islam. So she would take on Musa, she would see Musa, and then she would approach Fir'aun, and she's happy about it, okay? And Fir'aun had hundreds, or Ramses, he had, so inshallah, from now on, we're going to refer to him as Fir'aun. He had hundreds of children, but all of them died at a young age. For the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for him to have Musa in his palace. So she would approach him, she's really happy, and she tells him, look, we have Musa. All right, we have this guy, this kid. Fir'aun would say, okay, this is a kid that looks like he's from the Israelites. He does not look like one of us Egyptians. He should be killed. So she says, no, please spare him. You don't know, we can take him as our child, we can adopt him, or he can be of good for us, right? He may be قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي وَلَكَ. She said, he is maybe going to be something of happiness for me and you. So Fir'aun says, okay, you can keep him, but not for happiness for me. قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لَكِ. He's going to be of happiness just for you, not for me. Okay, so he failed the first test of the big test. All right? The Prophet ﷺ has said in a hadith, if Fir'aun had said, قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي وَلَكَ, he's going to be of happiness to me and you, he's going to be of good for me and you, then Fir'aun would have become Muslim. But he failed the first test because he's arrogant. So Musa ﷺ was raised in the palace of the person who ordered to kill him, subhanAllah. That is the second kind of protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now the person who ordered to kill him, he's not going to kill him because he's going to raise him. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a promise to his mother. He said, don't worry, you're going to be away from him for a little bit of time, but we're going to get him back to you. So don't be scared. Don't worry about it. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a promise, it's 100% going to become true. So what happened is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbidden any woman in the palace to be able to breastfeed him. So his sister was walking, taking a glance at where the tomb is going, and then she discovered he is at the palace of Fir'aun. All right, they were scared, like Fir'aun, right? He's there, he might kill him, but they knew that he's still alive, and they were looking for somebody to breastfeed him. So she went to the palace and she told the guards, I know exactly who is the person who can breastfeed him, and they can be of good advice to him. They can raise him well, to the standards that the wife of Fir'aun would like. So they made her approach the wife of Fir'aun, and the wife of Fir'aun asked her to bring her mother. So she said, I prefer, for you guys to come over there because of a certain condition with the mother. So subhanAllah, they were all forced to come to the house of this Israelite that they despised. And Musa returned back, not just to his mother's own hands, own arms, but to her house. And they said that they're going to keep him there and he would be raised there. So his mother would raise him until he become of age, and she would breastfeed him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his promise to the mother of Musa. Now he would return back to the palace. The wife of Fir'aun would check up on him. And one time the wife of Fir'aun gave Musa to Fir'aun, all right? And little babies are really cute, right? So Fir'aun, even though he has a lot of arrogance, all of that, he could not resist this cute face, right? This cute little baby face, all right? So he would look at the baby face and he's like, okay, you're cute, all right. Okay, so he starts playing with him, but then Musa grabs his beard and he pulls it, okay? So it hurts Fir'aun, all right? Fir'aun is really hurt, so he's like, oh, kill him, all right? Just kill him. Like, how dare you do this to me, little baby? Kill you, I'll kill you, all right? So Asya goes to him and she says, like, are you out of your mind? He's just a little baby. He does not understand that this is going to hurt you. He did not do it intentionally, all right? So he says, all right, if he's a little baby, we're going to do a little test. So as you can see, arrogance gets you to a point where you just stop thinking, right? You just stop thinking. This person becomes stupid, right? He's not able to think properly. You're going to do a test for a baby. Obviously, he's a baby. All right, he does not mean to do it. He's not mean to hurt you. He does not understand. All right, and you're going to make a test for him now. So he would like to test him. So he said, we're going to grab a date and we're going to grab a stone that is put on fire, jamra. And if he grabs the date and put it in his mouth, this means that he's aware of what he's doing, and he did this purposely, intentionally. He wanted to hurt me. And if he grabs a stone, then he did this unintentionally. And I'm going to spare. All right? Can you see how ridiculous this is? This man is so ridiculous. All right? So, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gave the revelation to Musa to grab the stone, to protect him. The third protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he grabs the stone, and it burns his tongue, causes Musa alayhi salam to have a lisp. All right? Now, Musa grows up, and in the best environment you can ever think. He's literally a prince. He dresses the best dress, he eats from the best food, he drinks from the best drink, he is in the best place, in a palace, he has servants, everything you would like. Okay? Yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still preparing him for the destiny he is. Yet, he was a person of kind heart. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have not chosen him. Again, the Prophet said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at the hearts of all of his worshippers, and then he found out that the Prophet ﷺ had the most pure heart, so he chose him as the best creature, and he chose him as a prophet. And then comes after him all of the prophets, thus includes Musa alayhi salam. So Musa would have a pure heart. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him. Now Musa alayhi salam, because he likes justice, he grew up, and then he was walking in the streets of Egypt, right? I was going to say the streets of Cairo, but Cairo did not exist back then. He was walking in the streets of Memphis, let's say, the capital of Egypt back then. And he saw an Israelite, هذا من شيعته, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, this man belongs to his own people, all right? He's an Israelite and a Coptic, Qibti, an Egyptian. And they were fighting, so the Israelite called Musa and he said, you know, come and do justice. And of course, justice or the right was with the Israelite. The Egyptian was the person who was wrong. Otherwise, Musa would have not stood with the Israelite. So Musa wanted to just like slightly, punch the man in his stomach, just like to, tell him like you did something wrong, you should not do that. But Musa alayhi salam, he was a strong man. He had a strong body, he had muscles, all right? And all the prophets, by the way, all of them are of strength. I don't know why we always get the picture that, they're weak and all that. Yes, because they get tortured. But we have, I think, a saying, I'm not 100% of its accuracy of how it is structured, but in which it says in Arabic that if you're a man of strength and you forgive, that is the best situation. That's the best case. Because you're able to hurt the person, yet you forgive. For instance, the Prophet ﷺ, yes, he has been tortured for years. But the Prophet ﷺ, he's never killed a man in his life. Only one man during a war. During a war, it was a battle. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he threw an arrow. And the arrow hit the man. And everybody was very shocked with what happened. The man was shaking hysterically. He was shaking. His body was shaking. And they asked him, what's wrong? What? Like, it's just, an arrow. We've never seen somebody hit by an arrow shaken like that. And they said, you don't understand the pain. That arrow hit me as if it was 1,000 men hitting me with an arrow. The strength of the Prophet ﷺ hitting one arrow, it was like 1,000 men hitting this arrow. The force of 1,000 men. Sallallahu alayhi Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Musa alayhi salam was the same. He was of strength. He was a strong man. So just a slight punch killed the Egyptian. Just made him fall down and he died. He did not intentionally kill him. So Musa was scared, all right? And he fled the scene. He was staring like to the right and to the left, right? Looking for people if they were following him. So the next day, he would approach the city and he would see the same Israelite, and the same Israelite is like, hey, come over. I'm having a fight with the Coptic. All right, save me from this man. So Musa this time tells him, you're a man of trouble. Like, come on, I saved you yesterday, and you want me to save you today? Like, you're a man of trouble. All right. The ayah says, إِنَّكَ ذُو لَغْوٍ. All right. You talk a lot, so you fall in trouble. And he approached to reach justice. Now, scholars have been debating the meaning of the ayah. Is it the Israelite who said, or is it the Coptic who said? But either ways, nobody knew that Musa killed that Copt until this incident, because what happened is the Israelite, he told him, so are you approaching this man to kill him the same way you killed the Copt yesterday? So the Copt was like, oh, so you're the one who killed the man from yesterday. All right, so he goes to the Pharaoh, to Ramses, and he tells him, hey, Musa is the one who killed the man yesterday. He snitched on him. So now the soldiers are after Musa. So now the next thing that Musa alayhi salam is suffering from, he needs to flee Egypt. So he flees Egypt. This is the first time in his whole entire life to have this incident. He's been living in a palace for his past life, best food, the best thing. Now he has to flee Egypt because they want to kill him. They want to hang him. So he flees Egypt and goes all the way back to the city of, from last lecture, remember? Madian, right? Near the city of Ma'an. So he goes there, and during the way he was only eating, like buquliyat, like cashews and almonds, stuff like these, all right? And the leaves of the trees. This is what he was eating. And because he was walking barefoot, he walked all the distance from Egypt to Midian. Could you imagine that? They did not have cars back then, all right? Or they did not have GPS either. He walked all this barefoot in the desert, at night sometimes, in the cold, all right? So his foot, it became, the skin was torn off from his foot, from the bottom of his foot, because he was walking for long distances. And he became very thin. I mean, yeah, you could imagine it's for you, it's probably been 3 days, but back then, a distance like this would have not been 3 days. It would have been probably weeks, months, years. You don't know. I think the distance from Per Ramses to Midian, I think it would take probably a month or something, a month or a half. I'm trying to measure the same distance in Syria, walking barefoot from Jerusalem to Damascus. But I presume it's like a month or a half. So he was probably walking a month and a half barefoot with no resources and utilities. And he reaches Midian, and he reaches the well of Midian. There, he finds a bunch of men, and he finds 2 young females with their sheep, and they were just waiting. So Musa is like staring at them, like, why are they waiting? Like, why are they, getting from the water? So he goes to them and he asks them, is everything all right? What's wrong? Why are you guys not, drinking from the water, from the well? So they say, you can see we're 2 young females, and you can see there are a lot of males there. We can't, approach that. They were of good manners and morals, so they did not, want to, go to the men and be like, okay, like they're gonna act tough and all of that. No, they had what you call it in Arabic istihya, right? Haya. They had shyness, a little bit of shyness, right, and security. And they told him, and our father, he's an old man, he's an older man, he's not able to, come over here and, go down the well, grab the bucket, and, feed all of the sheep and all of that. So Musa told them, all right, don't worry. And you can see his pure heart here. He said, don't worry, all right, you guys rest, I'll take care of this. So there was a rock on the way, and he was able to lift this rock. And this rock, it needed 10 men to lift it. He was able to lift it only by himself. And then he grabbed the bucket, he filled the water, he was able to put aside all the men, and he fed all of the sheep. And then he went to the 2 females, and then he gave them what they needed, and went back beneath a tree and sat there. That's it. The job is done. He's not, gonna flirt. He's not gonna say something. That's it. Manners, good manners. So the two females, they went back to the man, to the elderly man, who's Shu'aib, alayhi salam, the man we talked about, the prophet we talked about last week. And they told their father of what happened, because Shu'aib, he saw that his two daughters came over with a huge amount of buckets, something they've never usually done. So he said, well, there's something unusual here. So they told him, yeah, well, there's that, kind man, qawiyyun amin, right? He's a man of strength and he's with honesty. So Shu'aib alayhi salam said, go to that man and tell him to come over here. So Musa comes over with the two women, and she wanted to go in front of him, and he goes behind her, but Musa said, no. You go behind me, and I'll go in front of you while we're walking. And if I'm not going the right path, grab some little stones and hit me with it, so I know we're in the wrong path. Why did he do this? Because if he was walking behind her, she would have not felt secure, right? He's a strange man after all, right? What if he did something to her? But now walking in front of her, he's telling her, I'm not going to do anything, right? I'm walking the path, you're behind me, it's kind of hard. She can't get away easily if he's even thinking about doing anything. So he gave her security, good manners, again. He's a prophet, right? Musa alayhi salam, with a pure heart. This is why he was chosen. So he reaches Shu'aib. Shu'aib asks him, what's up? What's going on? And he tells him his whole story and how he fled. So Shu'aib, he says, لا بأس لقد فلحت من القوم الظالمين. لقد نفدت من القوم الظالمين بالمعنى العامي. You are able to escape from those who are unjust. And now you're not in their state. You're not in their empire. So you're safe here. So his little daughter, Safura, if you remember the name, she tells Shu'aib, her father, she says, استأجره فإن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. Right? Make him your servant, make him work for you. All right? And the best man you would make him work for you is a man of strength and honesty. So Shu'aib asks her, how did you know he's of strength and honesty? She said, well, he lifted a rock that only 10 men were able to do so. And when we walked, he never talked a single word with me. And he made me walk behind him. He's a man of manners and honesty. So Shu'aib was impressed with this. So he takes him on and he tells Musa, if you want, you can work 8 years for me. I'll give you food. I'll give you a drink. I'll give you a place to stay. And when you're done with this, you can marry my daughter. You can choose either of my daughters and marry them. Right? And if you work 10 years for me, that's good. That's a generous thing you would do. So the Prophet ﷺ was asked for how long Musa did the work for Shu'aib, and he said, أَتَمَّهُنْ وَأَكْمَلَهُنْ. Right? The best of them, which means he worked 10 years. Right? Because he's a man of manners, again. Right? So he worked 10 years, and he married Safura, the woman who told the father to hire him, to work for him. So do you see like the ironies of the story of Musa alayhi salam? Like the man who would slaughter Musa, he was going to be the man who would raise him, and then the woman who would ask her father to hire him, she's going to be his future wife. So after that is done, Shu'aib really was impressed with him. He wanted to reward him. So he said, any of the sheep that are going to be born, any of the sheep that are going to be born this year, you can't take them. They're now your own. So now he became rich. He has wealth now. He's a shepherd, right? And he has a business. So he now wants to leave Midian. He wants to settle into another spot. He's going all the way to Egypt again. He wants to see his family. He wants to see his father, brother, and mother, and sister. So on the way, it was a long way, and they got lost in the way. And they reached Sinai. the land of Sinai. Specifically the land of Tur, Jabal al-Tur, the mountain of Tur. Now, it was night. It was a very dark night. And it was a cold night. And they were really struggling with the way. They had no clue where they are. So Musa alayhi salam, from a distance, he witnesses fire, light coming from Mount Tur. So he tells his family, he says, إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا لَعَلِّي آتِيكُمْ بِهَا بِقَبَسٍ أَوْ آتِيكُمْ بِنَبَأٍ. All right. So he said, I've seen sort of fire or campfire. Maybe I could come with something we can, be, worm with, or maybe somebody to guide us with the way. Hopefully something positive. So he goes to the mountain and he's seen the incident that shook him. It was a tree and the flames was eating the tree. However, the leaves were not being burnt. And instead of it getting burnt, the flames were acting as a sort of fuel for the tree to grow even more. So the trees, the green leaves were growing green, more green, and they were growing more. So Musa was staring at this and he was really shocked at this incident. This is unnatural. All right. So then he hears from heavens. And I want you to imagine this. This is very strong. A sound, a voice from heavens. Ya Musa, اخلع عليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى. Musa, take off your shoes. You are in the holy valley of Tuwa. Musa is scared. He's like, who's that? Who's talking to me? Who's this? إني أنا ربك. إني أنا ربك. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking with him. Imagine this. It's very strong. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to you. The voice you're hearing is the voice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إني أنا ربك فاستمع لما يوحى. Listen to what I'm going to say. إني اصطنعتك لنفسي. I have constructed you. I've created you for my own use, for my own purpose of use. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go to the Pharaoh. Go to the Pharaoh of Egypt. He became a tyrant. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sent Musa to Fir'aun. Remember when I was saying how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Fir'aun? He's even given him more. He's not mad at Fir'aun. He's sad that Fir'aun is a tyrant. He wants him to come back to the path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Fir'aun, why are you doing this? Follow the path that I want. I love you. I want you to become a good person. Don't become a tyrant. So I'm going to send Musa to guide you. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. So so Musa alayhi salam, it's a very strong incident. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking and he's shook and all this. And then he says, how am I supposed to do that? Like, this man wants to kill me a couple years ago and I'm not a man of good rhetoric. I can't speak because I have a lisp. I can't speak clearly. So he asked him, he said, can you please make Harun my vizier? Can you make him a prophet with me so he can assist me? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and go to Harun and let him know he's a prophet and he's going to assist you. And then he said, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the evidence that I'm a prophet? I mean, yes, I've heard you, I've talked to you. Kareemullah, he's the one who had a conversation with Allah, the one who would talk to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take your staff and throw it. And now the staff of Musa, it is said that Adam alayhi salam, when he descended from heavens into earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a bunch of things. It was said that one of the things he was given, the staff of Musa, the ring of Sulaiman, the black stone that is in Mecca, and a sphere. And I'm going to talk about this, inshallah, after I tell you the incident of Musa. but that these things are from heavens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the staff to him, throw your staff. And Musa threw his staff, and the staff became a large snake. And some say that the snake actually had legs and hands. And it had a long neck. So Musa was scared. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't be scared. It's not going to hurt you. And he said, take it back. He took it back, it turned back into a staff. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, put your hand in your pocket and take it out. He put it in his pocket and he took it out. And Musa alayhi salam, he was tan. So his hand became pale white, that it would shine. Light would come from it. That some said that when he did this, the Mount Tur, his family were able to see light coming from Mount Tur. So he descended and he talked to his family. His family said, any news? He said, yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to me. He revealed the message to me. I have to go to Egypt. I have a task. He goes to Egypt and he goes to his mother and his brother and he tells his brother the news. You're now a prophet. And we have the task to go and talk with Fir'aun. So now meeting with Fir'aun. What is the main problem with Fir'aun? What is the main problem with him? Dictatorship. This man is a tyrant. He's a dictatorship. He is scared that he's going to lose his power, his authority. He's not concerned about anything else. He just wants to protect his power. He wants to become the king. He remain in power. Remember when he saw the dream? The dream was that he's going to be dethroned. He couldn't care, for anything regarding religion. Back then, religions sometimes worked as parties. All right. So I'm going to make this a little bit familiar for you. All right. Today we have a country ruled by a tyrant, a dictatorship country. The dictators, what do? They control state media, and they start to build a cult of personality in which he is the hero, he's the savior of this nation, all right? So now he's sort of like a god. Some nations don't explicitly say that, but nations like North Korea, for instance, they literally believe that the leader of North Korea, he's a god. They believe that he's a god, they worship him. And whoever does not worship him, it's a big problem there. And they terrorize people. They put them in jail if you don't follow this ideology. There's only one ideology in this dictatorship country. In Pharaoh's Egypt, in the Ramses Egypt, only one ideology. The ideology is, I am the god, Ramses. He thinks he's the god. You have to follow this. And any other opinion should be suppressed, should be killed. Because this is dangerous for the throne. Right? This makes danger for my throne. So now imagine this. Musa, a part of the Israelites, which is an oppressed part of the kingdom of Egypt, coming into the Egyptian kingdom, again, who was actually spared by him, with a new ideology, with a religion that says to worship a God that is greater than the ruler of this land. And he is the creator of this ruler. So you could imagine how people would actually revolt against this ruler, right? And now he's not of great importance no more. He's not the center of the universe no more. So Musa knocks the doors of the palace of Fir'aun. The guards see him and they said, what do you want? So Musa says, go and tell your king that the messenger of Allah is here. So they start laughing out like, messenger of Allah? What are you talking about? Right? But then they kept doing this for 2 years until Fir'aun started to get annoyed with him. Like, what do you want? All right. So he let him in. He said, just let him in. Let's see what this man has to say. All right. So he started to talk to him. What's up? You left the country. We raised you well. All right. We gave you everything. Yet you killed a Coptic Egyptian, one of us. You were a traitor. All right. Do you see this pattern? It's kind of familiar in our modern day, right? You're a traitor. Yeah, you're against me. Oh, you're a traitor. All right. I'm going to follow you. right? Even though he was part of the family. All right, so what do you want? So Musa says, listen to me. I'm not here for a throne. I don't care about the throne. I don't care about politics. I don't care to become a king. All what I want is to deliver this message that I'm obligated to. Okay? You're misguiding people by saying that you're the God. All right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not even want you to be dethroned. Okay? You can remain the king, but just don't misguide the people. You're not the God. There is only one God. His name is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you worship this God. The God who created you, who created your ancestors. The God who created the day of judgment. There's a day of judgment that is going to come. You're going to be asked about everything you're doing, right? And one last request. You've been oppressing the people of Israel for a long time, the Israelites. This is injustice. Injustice is not good, all right? If you do justice, that is the good thing. Send the people of the Israelites with me. I'm going to make sure they're not going to do any revolution against you. Just free them. Stop oppressing them. Stop killing their people. Stop raping their women. Stop oppressing them. Stop using them as slaves. So Fir'aun laughed at him, and his vizier Haman laughed at him. So Fir'aun, he's mocking Musa. He's like, he tells the elite, he's telling them, do you hear what this man is saying? So he tells him mocking. He's like, who's man rabbuka ya Musa? Who's your Lord? Who's that God you're talking about? Who's this man? So Musa says he's not a man, he's a creator. He starts using logic with him. But because he's arrogant, his brain stopped working. His brain stopped functioning. So he says, there's only me, one God. And the elite starts telling Fir'aun, من هذا الذي يريد أن يخرجنا من أرضنا من هذا الذي يريد أن يخرجنا من أرضنا بسحر. So Fir'aun says he's a magician. This man is a magician. All right? He's doing magic. He's trying to brainwash you with magic. And then he goes and tells Haman, his vizier, he tells him, يا هامان ابني لي صرحا لعلي أطلع إلى الأسباب. Right? Go and build a great building for me that reaches the sky, reaches the heavens. I may look and see, where is that God of Musa? Where is this man? Where is that God of Musa? All right? So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes him as Fir'aun dhil awtad, because he built great structures, very long structures. So Musa says, let's make a date between me and you. One day, all right, and I'll prove for you that I'm not a magician and I'm not lying. I'll prove it for you. I have evidence. So Fir'aun says, do you have evidence? Okay, present it to me. So he said, موعدكم يوم الزينة. The day of your festival, we're going to all gather all the elites, gather all of the people of Egypt, all right? And I'm not scared. Do it in the morning. Don't do it at night. No, I want everybody to witness this. So Fir'aun thinks he's going to win. So he grabs, some people said it's 70,000 of the best magicians of Egypt. 70,000. Some people said 40,000. All right? All of them would gather on that day. And then they would all mock him. And then the magicians would say, if we won, to Fir'aun, they would say, if we won, would we have a high level, a high rank for you? And he said, yes, and you will be from the one who are close to me. وَإِنَّكُمْ مِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ. So they go and tell to Musa, they tell Musa, do you want to start first, or do you want me to start first? Do you want us to start first? So Musa says, no, you go and start first. So at this point, they throw their staffs, and they had ropes. So they did a trick in which they would mix a zitbaq, which is a chemical element, with the staff and the ropes and shake it in a manner that would look like they were snakes. So when this happened, people were scared and they were like, oh my God, look what happened. And then they said, see, this is magic. This is exactly what he did, right? And Musa got a little bit scared. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to him and tells him, don't be scared. It's all right. Okay, just throw your staff and everything's going to be all right. So he throws his staff. And at this point, everybody was terrified, even the magicians. And the snake, the staff turned into a snake, and that snake ate all of the magicians' staffs. Here, the magicians were shocked. They knew this is not magic. This is absolutely not magic. And they bowed down, and they said, we believe in the God of Musa and Harun. We believe in the God that Musa is telling us. So he had 70,000 people believing in him and a bunch of different people witnessing this, and they started believing in it. Remember the dictatorship model we had? Here it comes again. Fir'aun said, very logically, very stupid. He says, how can you take this decision of changing your religion without consulting me first? Why do I have to consult you? I have my own free will, right? I can follow whatever religion I want. Why do I have to consult you? And he says, you know what? Because you did this, all right? لأصلبنكم لأقطعن أيديكم وأرجلكم من خلاف ولأصلبنكم في جذوع النخل. I will cut your hands and legs opposingly. So he would cut the left and the right leg, left hand and the right leg, and then the right hand and the left leg, and then he would crucify them at the trees until they die, and he would let the lions eat their corpses. Look how what do you call it? Such a beast he is. How brutal he is. And not just this. By the way, remember when I was talking earlier about the accuracy of the scripts we know from Egypt? Now, pharaohs, they were not necessarily, they did not like democracy too much. They were dictators, democracy too much. So, do you know how they controlled state media? Do you know how we control state media if there's a dictatorship now? So, the news, we have some, weird news that are not really realistic. This is exactly what they did, especially at the era of Ramses. This is why we don't have a general mention of an incident like this, because if this was carved into the stones, the people who would come after, they would believe in the religion of Musa, and Ramses is not going to be the god, right? So he started to alter reality, and he turned to the people of Egypt and he said, did you see what happened to those magicians? Anybody who thinks about following the religion of Musa, this is their fate. So now the people of Egypt, even though they're convinced with what they've seen, they're convinced that the God of Musa is like the religion of Musa and there's only one God and all that, but now they're scared. And today we have same incidents, by the way. They're scared. They can't follow the right path. But again, there's a lot of ironic things in the story of Musa. There was the cousin of Fir'aun. He saw this and he was convinced. All right? And then there was like a meeting, between them. And then he told Fir'aun, this man makes sense, right? Like what's been happening and the hand thing and all of that. And Fir'aun said, what are you saying? Like, are you going against me now? And he says, no, but he's not asking much. So, what is his fate? Brutal fate again. He was made as an example. His wife, his own wife, Asiyah bint Muzahim, she believed in Musa. Same fate. And she's one of the two women that are mentioned in the Quran. And she has a great palace in heavens. Do we know the story of Nashitat Fir'aun? The woman who was the hairdresser of the daughter of Fir'aun. This woman, she believed in Musa. She believed in the religion of Musa. And one time she was hairdressing, brushing the hair of the daughter of Fir'aun. And the misht, what do you call it? Why am I forgetting the terms here? The broom or the brush. I forgot about it. I don't know why. But anyways, it fell down from her hand. So she descended down to get it and she said, Bismillah. So the daughter, she's never heard about this before. So she says, what does that mean? So she said, oh, this is something that Musa has taught us. So the daughter goes and tells her father. So what did her father do? He grabbed a huge pan and he put boiling water in it. Basically, he cooked the woman. He put her in the boiling water. Publicly. Not just her and her daughter. Look how brutal he became. He became a monster. This is not a human no more. This is a monster. He boiled her alive. So, all of this was going on. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to punish his people, especially that his people said, evacuate him from the land. All right? Punish him, torture him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them the first sign. He sends grasshoppers for them. Those grasshoppers would eat the wood and the trees and everything and the farmlands. So the people of Egypt would go to Musa and they would ask him, pray for Allah to save us. And they said, we're going to do everything you want. Okay? We're going to send the Israelites with you. We're going to follow your religion, anything. Just pray to Allah. And that tells you that they're convinced. And Fir'aun himself is convinced, by the way. But he just doesn't want to lose the throne. And this is really sick and pathetic. Let me tell you this, right? And humans just made everything complicated, because the idea of having authority or a king or a president or a leader, okay, the idea started that a bunch of humans, all right, they had businesses among them, and sometimes incidents would occur, so they just needed somebody to rule among them. And now, instead of this man ruling among them for the main soul or purpose of just making sure everything is going right and nobody is taking the right of anybody. Now this man, he went psycho and he decided to, use this authority to actually do the thing he's supposed to protect. Goes against the thing he's supposed to protect, right? So Fir'aun himself, he's convinced that there's only one God and all this, but the problem is he just wants a throne. So Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets away the thing. No more grasshoppers. They don't fulfill the promise. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the qaml, which is like an insect that eats their hair, and basically like, I think, bugs, something like that, bugs, all right? So again, they ask the same thing. They say, they promise, same thing. Again, he sends on them frogs, in which every time they want to eat, a frog would pop up, so they're not able to eat no more. Same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send on them floods. Same thing. Heavy rains, and the Nile would flood and all that. Same thing. Eventually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make their water blood. Every time they want to drink water, it turns into blood, so they can't drink no more water. Same thing. This time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa and the Israelites, take a corner in Egypt, build unique houses in order for you to distinguish yourselves among the Egyptians, that you're the Israelites and the people who believed in Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next thing you have, leave Egypt. The Exodus, as they refer to it. So now they are going to leave Egypt, and remember, the Israelites were slaves. So now they're slaves fleeing away from their masters. Pharaoh, Ramses, was not happy about this. Who's going to build the cities now, right? Who's going to build the structures, right? Just one note, by the way, the Israelites did not build the pyramids. The pyramids were built way before. It's the Egyptians who were built, because some people tend to claim today that the Israelites are the ones who built the pyramids. Thus, they have rights for it, but this is a false statement. The pyramids were not built by the Israelites. But anyhow, Ramses was not happy. So he grabs an army. Some said it was 100,000 people, 100,000 men, just for Musa and the Israelites. And they chase him. And eventually, Musa tells his people, stop right here. I believe it's Khalij al-Suwais, or the Red Sea. Khalij al-Suwais or the Red Sea. But it would make more sense that it is the Khalij al-Suwais, the Gulf of Suez, the Gulf of Suez, because the next thing is that they were going to go to Sinai. So there he would tell them to stop. So the people were like, what do you mean stop? I mean, we got to flee. This man is going to slaughter us. So he says, Allah ordered it, stop right here. So they stop, and with him is a man, he's named Yusha ibn Nun, and with him is a man, he's named As-Samiri. I'm gonna elaborate on that later on. So he stops right there, and then they turn. Fir'aun is approaching. We can't see him. Prophet of Allah, do something. What are we gonna do? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to him, he says, use your staff, knock the floor, and tell the sea, in falaq bi'idhnillah, separate with the permission of Allah. So he does this, and the hugest miracle ever. The sea would spread, not 2 parts, by the way, 12 parts. 12 parts. To make 12 pathways for the 12 tribes of Israel. And they would walk into this. And they would go into the other side of the Gulf. And then Pharaoh would approach and his army. And Pharaoh here, he 100% knows there's something wrong with this. No, that's a trap. This is no way a magic. This is, of course, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now he's hesitating, right? But now he's thinking, wait, if I hesitate, if I turn back, they're going to say, well, look, he's scared from the God of Musa. He's not a God. Oh my God, this is going to ruin my ideology. This is going to ruin me. People are going to revolt against me now. So he's now under this hard decision. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants him to go in. That's it. This is the last opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him many opportunities. That's it. No more opportunities. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Jibreel, go and start doing things for the horse of Fir'aun, to attract the horse. So he starts attracting the horse of Fir'aun. Again, animals would see things we were not able to see. They would see jinn and the angels. So the horse was able to see Jibreel, and he was scared. So the horse rushed towards the sea, in which Fir'aun did not want to go through. So he was forced to rush in. He did not want to go. And his army, when they saw that, they were forced to go. They wanted to follow their leader. And then Fir'aun wanted to claim, you know what? Do you see how much of a strength I have? I'm the God, so the sea feared me, and the sea knew I was chasing those guys, and I want to bring them back into Egypt because they're our slaves. So the sea said, okay, your majesty, you're my Lord and God, I'm going to separate for you. And because they're half of them are a bunch of idiots just trying to get some position in the state, and a bunch of them were just terrified. They believed in this. And so the next thing is the sea, it was separated now. It crushed on Fir'aun and his people. And the Israelites on the other shore, they witnessed how Fir'aun, that great king, was drowning. Could you imagine this? Let's bring any tyrant today, any great tyrant that we know, okay? And we see how strong he is. And people would think he has armies, he has planes, he has tanks, and he's killing people. Nobody's standing in his face. And imagine this person dying in front of you, and there's nobody there to save him, no more. This is what they saw. This is the strength of Allah. And now, here, Fir'aun realizes, that's it. I have no more throne. I lost everything. I don't want to lose the afterlife. So he says, آمنت برب موسى وهارون. I believe in the God of Musa and Harun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, الآن وقد عصيت. Now, and that you've sinned. Now, and I've been giving you all of these opportunities. And Jibreel alayhi salam is telling the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he was telling him the story. He tells him, you should have seen me, what I was doing. And note on this incident. You should have seen me what I was doing. I was getting sand from beneath the sea, and I was putting it in the mouth of Fir'aun, because I was terrified that if he says this, actually Allah has mercy on him and forgives him, because he knows that Allah has mercy on him. So even though he was drowning and it was already done, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still had mercy for him. But Jibreel was trying to prevent it, because he really hated him, because he said, Ana rabbukum al-a'la, because Fir'aun claimed himself to be the greatest God. So even at this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had some mercy. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, this is so beautiful. It really makes us want to makes people want to cry, really, like the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even at this point, He still wants to forgive him. So inshallah, we reached our time limit. I'm going to stop here, inshallah. Maybe next time we're going to talk more about the fancy staff and the black stone and the sphere and the ring of Sulaiman that descended of heaven. But next time, inshallah, next lecture, really, really look forward to it. really, because today I mentioned the name of As-Samiri, correct? And many people say this man is probably a Dajjal, the Antichrist. So we're gonna know if he is the Dajjal or not. I have a story that maybe, Wallahu A'lam, it is told to be the background story of a Dajjal. Inshallah, I'm gonna present it for you next lecture, but really look up for that, inshallah. جزاكم الله خير. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي بالحق وإنه لا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا ولا تسلط علينا من لا يرحمنا يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. For anybody who would like to look, this is the corpse of Fir'aun Musa. That's his mummy. All right. So imagine this person was standing in front of the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they also did a reconstruction face for him. So this is how he looked like. That's an approximate. And that is his mummy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he is ibrah. He is an example for all the nations to come of what would happen to tyrants. Right? So really think about this when you see this, inshallah. And the last thing I would like to say, inshallah, please make dua for our people in Palestine at this time and for all the people all around the world. We have heard the news, what's going on. Really bad news for Palestine, inshallah. It's really a shame what's going on there. It's really a shame what's been happening. So please make dua for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And always remember, Palestine, inshallah, is in our hearts. And our soul is Jerusalem, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Somebody can do the adhan.
Allahu Akbar.